Also, thinking about Tamlin leads her further away from the answer, which is love.
Welcome back to the Book Breathing Bitch Queens podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Allie. And this week we're jumping into chapter 41. This is right after the second trial. A lot of sadness, this very like kind of darkest moment territory. It's honestly just like Feyre in her cell thinking. And then the iconic music scene where someone sends her music up into her cell and some very interesting things happen. I'm excited to talk about those.
We also have an overheard conversation that is interesting, right?
Oh yeah, duh,
Yeah,
da da
yeah.
da.
Yeah, we have
That too.
we have our eavesdropping moment.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So the first two things I have, and I think that they should go together, but it's two separate quotes and two kind of thoughts, but they go together. So the first thing that I have is, I began to look forward to the moments when Rhys gave me that goblet of fairy wine and I could lose myself for a few hours. A few lines later, thinking of Tamlin made everything worse. And I'm noting
Yeah.
she's looking forward to Rhys and not looking forward to Tamlin.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah, I
it's
also
not even
underlined.
veiled at this point. Like she's straight up being like, I
Well, and
just
she's saying because she's so sad, that's why
Mhm.
thinking about it
Yeah,
makes it worse. But it still is objectively, you're saying that thinking about Tamlin makes your life worse.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is,
yeah.
that's a tell.
Well, and then I think it's also foreshadowing for the next book where she
Yeah.
is going through her PTSD, depression, anxiety phase. And the thing that soothes her is not necessarily losing herself again, right? Not drinking her sorrows away with Rhysand, but it is Rhysand, right? And it is
Yeah.
learning with him and spending time with him and his court. Whereas every time she comes back to Tamlin, she's sick again and she's anxious and she's depressed and she's throwing up. And so I think it's not that hard. We always, not always, but when you read the books for the first time, it seems like there's kind of like a hard shift, right? Everyone's like Team Tamlin, and then boom,
Yes.
it's
Now I'm
Rhysand.
like, oh, it was not a hard shift. It's right
Yeah,
here.
yeah. It's like this has been building for quite a while. We just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like when we've like sort of talked more about structure and story structure recently. And like Gina Denny actually in some of her videos, she'll talk about like where do you put I don't know, I think it was Gina Denny or maybe it was Brandon Sanderson where people were talking about how do you start your next book when you're in a series and like how do you like plant those seeds? And someone said like, 70 to 80%, which is kind of like when these seeds start happening. So
Yeah.
it's like kind of funny just like from a structural perspective, it's kind of like everything kind of happens where it should. And I don't know, it's very interesting structurally.
Yeah.
I also noticed permanent darkness settled over me. I was still in like it's Rhys, like any
Mhm.
darkness is Rhys. But
Yep.
I mean it's not, it's this one's actually just depression, but
Yeah.
it is like kind of just funny. But and then she says, right before the Tamlin line, I stopped contemplating Amarantha's riddle. It was impossible, especially for an illiterate, ignorant human. Thinking of Tamlin made everything worse. Like in your same kind of vein, she's trying to solve the riddle. The answer is love. And she thinks that's impossible because right now love is with Tamlin, and
Yeah.
that's going to be an impossibility, dear. And also, thinking about Tamlin leads her further away from the answer, which is love. Which is,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
just
Which
funny.
is lovely. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, um, but yeah, I thought that was a funny line. And then, yeah, she knew that Amarantha's third task was going to be the one to kill her.
Mhm.
She wasn't wrong. And I did note
She
she says
wasn't.
deep in my bones I knew. Um,
Mhm.
because that I mean I don't know. It kind of makes it feel like maybe it's like a fate thing for her to die in the
Mhm.
trial or something. Um, I don't know. Did you think of anything of that line?
Um,
Because like she
sorry,
really
where we
does know. She has this like sense of dread.
Got it. I was like, I couldn't find the bones. No, I didn't have any thought of that, but I do have this moment a little bit later in that same paragraph where it says,
Mhm.
I couldn't entirely blame her. I doubt I would ever forget or forgive something like that being done to Nesta or Elaine. And one, I was like, there's a little bit of like sympathy for Amarantha in this moment.
Yeah.
And also like the foreshadowing of the things that's going to happen to her sisters and being like, I could never forgive that. And like either that's setting the stage for like she will never forgive Tamlin or
Yeah.
Luzan, possibly. Or that she's going to eat those words when that forgiveness does happen. And then that's
Hmm.
what's going to set her. That's what, and that could be the end, right? That if you have this villain in the beginning who's running on this hatred because of something that happened to her sisters, and the thing
Yeah.
that ends this book is that
The
Feyre
series.
doesn't become Amarantha despite yeah, that Feyre doesn't become Amarantha despite what happened to her and her family.
So the thing that ends this series is what you're saying?
Yeah, so, like, the tone that will end the series, right? Because we talk about that, like, coming full circle or the, like, 180,
Yes.
right? Is that in the first book, you have a villain whose motivation, kind of there's a lot of them, but kind of the central motivation is that she hates humans because of what they did to her sister. Granted, it's much more complicated than
Mhm.
that, but we keep coming back to that
Yeah.
over and over again. I can't blame her for what
Yeah.
happened to her sister. I would never forgive it either. And then at the end of the series, it would be Feyre rising above that, right? That she would offer that
Yeah.
forgiveness to the people who hurt her and her sisters so that she didn't become like Amarantha. And then that would be that difference, right? So you're kind of coming back to that same thing, that same realization that like I could turn into the villain. I have enough power to be the
Yeah.
villain. And I'm deciding not to. I'm choosing compassion. I'm choosing forgiveness instead.
Mhm.
And then it's also like this is my choice, and it also goes back to
Mhm.
the theme of choice, and I'm choosing my home, and all of the themes that have kind of been run through within the series.
Yeah. Okay, you saying that also kind of makes me think like, Tamlin is kind of on a tragic arc right now. Like in this book, he is spiraling. And so I wonder if what if Tamlin's the big bad of the series?
Could be.
I kind of, it's a little hard to believe because of what he's done in ACOTAR, and it seems like he's sort of on maybe sort of on a hero, and it also makes it seem like him being upset over Feyre is the thing is I don't know, it makes it's a little too intense. But just from that framing alone, it's almost like she would be having to forgive Tamlin because
Yeah.
he's the one who did it. And he is like kind of embodying that tragic character vibes right
Well,
now.
and what is the motivation of the big bad? Power? It's all just power? So, like, the big
It's
bads now are the queens, right?
yeah, I just mean like, the villain of the whole series and the final
Yeah,
villain or
yeah,
something.
that's yeah.
I
But
think right now it's the queens. Yeah.
yeah.
Or I guess Koche is like
But
probably
then
who is.
also, but what's his motivation? Why is he a villain? Again,
I
this
think
is
we
because
just don't know
I
yet,
don't
and we
remember
just know
shit
he's
about Koschei other than he's in a lake, but
hey, why is Koche a villain? Do we know what Koche's motivations are or anything about that? Did you hear that?
uh-uh.
He said, "No, absolutely not. He sucks." Gil was very annoyed by the ending of the Silver Flames.
Well, and I
It
just
feels random.
it does feel random, and it feels like I want a villain that has like a little bit of something for me to sympathize with because that's the conflict for
That's
the
what a good
reader.
villain should be. Yeah.
Yeah, a good villain for a reader, you should at least understand their motivations and be like, "Fuck that." Like that's not how to handle
Mhm.
this and like almost be frustrated with the tragedy of their choices.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
frustrated that that's the way that they chose to do it, right? Like so the villain that I'm writing, right? He does it because
He
everything is
wants
taken
to
from
go.
him and he's like never again and I'm going to take it all back and I'm going to be bigger and better. And
Mhm.
he goes a little fucking nutso with it, right? But like you can kind of understand why he
Yeah.
does it. It's not just power grabbing. And
Yeah.
and so then that's kind of because power grabs are boring.
Yeah. Although right now they do feel like, yeah, that's the truth of the world. That's how the world fucking is. It's just
I
people
mean,
doing power grabs.
that is true. Yeah,
I'm
there's
in the
no
mood for
reason.
a black and white villain in my stories right now
Yeah,
because of how insane the world feels right now.
that's fair. Yeah, there's no motivation for anything that the fucking evil in this world is doing other than
Yeah.
just
But
wanting more
normally,
power.
I would agree. I would say,
Yeah,
yeah, you need some well, the best villains are you can see how they fell and yeah.
yeah,
I think it would be a little too melodramatic to make Tamlin the big bad of all that unless something else happened to him.
yeah.
But that is interesting, and I do like sort of thinking about it from the arc perspective of
I don't know. I like just trying to think about all of the because like Tamlin's sort of a he's a mid character, right? Like he's not a villain, but he's not the hero. He's not a good guy, right? He's not
yeah.
necessarily a bad guy. He's kind of a neutral. He's flawed and that's kind of fun and interesting to
It's
look at.
like an antagonist, like
And
he
he's
you
a
know, but not a villain necessarily.
he's also like a regular like just kind of crappy guy. And I
Uh-huh.
think that either I'm trying to think I don't think that there's any other characters in any of her other series that have this like kind of regular shit guy.
Well, people say Kale is like that. I
Hmm,
don't know if that's fair to Kale.
I don't think that's fair to Kale.
He was like this young protege.
Mhm.
Well, I guess it doesn't mean that Tamlin's not because Tamlin is also kind of impressive in terms of power.
Yeah.
Um,
Kale chooses sides at some point, right? He crosses the line.
so
He
does
makes it.
Tamlin.
No, but I'm saying he makes a decision to fight against tyranny, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that Tamlin is making a decision to fight against tyranny. I think Tamlin's trying to watch Tamlin. I think
Mm.
Tamlin's trying to keep himself above water, and that's it. And that's what he's been doing since the beginning. That he's concerned about his livelihood, and he's not really concerned. And then the one time that he is concerned about somebody else's, he fucking smothers her.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that there's I mean, maybe the merman dude in Crescent City, he's a little Tamlin-y, but he's got a little like
Oh, I like Therion way more than Tamlin. Oh my goodness, I'll kill you for that. Just kidding. I can see how he's kind of like that, but I think he's way more interesting than Tamlin.
that's for sure. Yeah.
Tamlin doesn't. I was just listening to that episode, the the one that just came out, and that's where we talk a lot about Tamlin.
Mhm.
And oh yeah, so at one point we sort of talk about like Tamlin almost is like unrealistic at how few redeeming qualities he has.
Mhm.
It almost feels like maybe this isn't a fully fleshed out character.
Yeah.
With how, which makes it seem maybe there's something hidden,
Yeah.
and that's what we're actually going to find out is that there's something else that he has going on,
Yeah.
and that explains some of his weirdness. Or maybe he's just a badly written character, unfortunately, because there's just certain things that are just too weird.
Yeah. Fair.
Also, I think it's funny how she's just now realizing how silly she's been to give it all up for Tamlin
Mhm.
because she's like a 4 month summer fling to him in terms of
Yeah.
lifespan.
Mhm.
And that's yeah, I was like, finally we get some realism.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little sad how it happens, but yeah.
I feel like she's a little contradictory because like last chapter she was like all I wanted was just a simple life. All I wanted was just to paint and to live with daddy, right? And then
Mhm.
here she's like the future I dreamed of was just that, a dream. And so you're like, okay, well then which one do you want, love? Like do you want the simple life or do you want to be with Tamlin, right? Like I think that she's even conflicted in what she wants a little bit.
Oh, I read that more as like before she was like sad that all I had originally wanted was just to like hang out with
Mhm.
my dad and paint, and then I tried to go for more and look where it got me, and
Yeah.
then this is like the next step, which is
Like this is the
nothing's ever gonna happen, it's all
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's more like
And it
this.
does have this, like, really intense, like, self-pity, which I
Yeah.
get, like, when you're depressed she is in a position that sucks right now, right? Where she's just
Yeah,
like,
it's
that's what
fair.
I the future I dreamed of was just that, a dream. I'd grow old and withered while he would remain young forever for centuries, perhaps a millennia. At best, I'd have decades with him before I died. Decades. That's what I was fighting for. A flash in time for them, a drop in the pool of their eons. And I'm like, is she already giving up on Tamlin?
Maybe.
And like, granted, this is the foreshadowing to like that's not your future anymore, and your dream can come true because you get the relative immortality. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I don't know. I think that it's part of this all is lost moment that we have to have in the story, right? In
Yeah.
a narrative arc. And I think that it works. And it is kind of like her realizing, like, what am I what am I fighting for 30, 40, 50 years, and
Hmm.
then I'm old and gross, and he's gonna, and then I die? Like, this is
Yeah.
silly. Um, which is a really shitty headspace to be in when you have to go up against a third task and still try to do this. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that, like, really the thing that she's like actually do the good that she does isn't just that she like saved Tamlin, it's that she saves like all of Prithian. And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that because of her focus on Tamlin, she's not seeing like the actual bigger picture, which is that all these people are being oppressed and you could free them.
Yeah.
And it's a good metaphor for what depression does to your brain.
Yeah, I don't think that she can see how she could do that though. Right now, she thinks that she could even possibly do is free Tamlin and his court, and
Yeah.
then hope that that's enough to make a difference.
Yeah.
Because
That's fair.
I don't think any, maybe Rhys, because he says it a little bit later, but like I don't think anybody's really thought through, what does it mean if Tamlin can break his curse? What does that
I
mean
think
for the rest
okay.
of us?
Now I know we don't give Tamlin a lot of credence. I think he must be thinking about that because
Let's hope so.
he's desperately hoping. I mean, even though he's like sociopath's blank stare bro, he certainly is hoping that she'll pull through, that she'll conquer, even though he probably thinks that Tamarantha Amarantha's gonna fuck her,
Yeah.
which she does. But I feel like he's at least it's just not natural not to think about for him not to think about it. Other
Yeah,
people might be like, we'll see, you
and
know?
maybe it's just a given for them, and that's why it's not discussed, where it's like, if Tamlin had his powers, he could take her. And, like,
Yeah,
and it's just a given, and, like, when it's just a reality of the way you think, you don't necessarily voice that out loud, you don't say
yeah,
that, and that's a dangerous thing to speak out loud, and
yeah,
so, maybe it's just one of those things that's kind of not said because it's the sort of common knowledge or the common idea that just runs through, and then they just stay hush hush about it. Because Rhys does say it, he's like, "Why do you think I'm doing this? Like, I'm doing it to piss him off, I'm banking on that rage that he has, that, like, as soon as he gets his powers, he'll use it to kill her." And
yeah.
so,
I thought you didn't read that chapter. You just remember
oh,
that?
I
Oh, wow.
read the chapter, but I didn't write notes for it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, "Girl, how do you remember that so well?"
Yeah, no, I
'Cause I
read
read
it.
it last night. But yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I read it last week when I was reading these 2 chapters together. I kept reading ahead, and then I was like, "Stop, stop." But I was like, "I'm gonna
Stop.
read for enjoyment, AKA I can't put this down right now," so I didn't write any notes, but,
Yep.
so I technically could have done the episode, I just wouldn't have my notes.
It's okay.
But yeah, so maybe it's just it's kind of a given, right? It's like, you just know that if one person has this ability, that they'll do it, that there's no way that he wouldn't
Yeah.
not try to fight against her, so who knows?
Yeah.
Or if it's like speaking it out loud, like it's like maybe they're superstitious. They're like, we can't say what we hope because then it won't happen, kind of a thing. Or we need to say it 3
Uh,
times and then it will happen.
right? Yeah. Okay, the next note I have is well, actually, maybe that's before. Um, yeah, one of our girls smells like jasmine, for the record,
Yeah. Who
which
else
is
smells?
Aylin's scent, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything. It's probably just a random thing, but
Also, I'm making a note of any time people use lavender soap.
yes, which she didn't, right?
Aelin uses lavender soap and gets mad when
That's it,
at Sam for using it,
but
and then
not here.
well,
Oh, okay,
no.
okay.
And then I think that she uses it on Rowan when she washes Rowan and is not
Yeah.
mad that he's using her soap because he's her mate.
Mhm,
And, then Bryce uses lavender soap when she washes, Hunt.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So now
Yes.
we have our where our
Conversation.
eavesdropping is starting.
Yeah.
So it says, then a low guttural voice grunted in response to the hissing of the Attor. Nails clicked on stone, which I'm assuming is the Attor, and my escort swapped glances before they swung me into the alcove, a tapestry that hadn't been there a moment ago, falling over us, the shadow deepening, solidifying. And I wrote, like, And maybe it's because it's a little bit later that they say, like, it's trouble, but, like, do they recognize this voice? Do they know who the Attor is speaking to? Are they just
Mm,
like, "Oh, nope, we gotta hide because we don't wanna be seen with this person anyways," or, like, kind of it seemed a little whatever. As I'm also always curious about a tapestry because I'm in Throne of Glass, and behind that tapestry is a whole world of craziness.
that's behind the tapestry.
Hmm?
The door to the thing
Yeah,
is behind the tapestry?
yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And so I
Okay,
was like,
interesting.
"Well, that's fun to think about." And then one covered my mouth with a hand, holding me tightly to her, shadow slithering down her arm and onto mine. So I was like, can they also control shadows? Right?
Yeah.
They're called waifs, right? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
think.
I'm like, what's their sort of shadow? Like, how does that like what is that power, right? It
That's
also made me
interesting.
think about Etta and Briar, which we've talked about before, the two sorry, the two girls from the 13 that are called the Shadows. And I'm like, what if they became
They are
waifs?
called shadows, I
Yeah.
forgot.
And I'm
You
like,
told me that, but
what
yeah.
if when they did the what is it called when they blow themselves up?
Yielding.
Yeah, what if when they did the yielding they all became waifs? And that's who these are. That would be fun.
Yeah. That would be interesting. They all became Hmm.
'Cause it seems a little half dead, right? It seems a little
Yeah,
ghosty.
oh yeah.
And, like, that would be a fun way for them to have, like, had another life, right? That they have this afterlife, which is also all sorts of implications that the afterlife is a separate realm.
Yeah. Well, and also, yes, I have thoughts about that.
Mhm,
Um, and also, I am always looking for links to hell, and I'm
mhm,
like, maybe,
yeah.
when you say that, I'm like, that's
And
what I think of.
if they lived in, sort of the flesh and bone bodies in one life, they yield, right? So they sacrifice themselves. Who's to say that hell wouldn't give them a continuation in another world,
Yeah.
right? That they couldn't
Maybe
have
they
had,
earned it by yielding.
and that would be one way for that, like their sort of aptitude with hiding within shadows became an actual power, became an actual manifestation for them.
I love that.
That would be
I
lovely. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Because they were very interesting. I didn't really, like, have, like, thoughts, but
And
I
they're
was like,
loyal
they're
and they're
cool.
quiet and yeah, and so it'd be kind of nice to see them have, like, a little bit of a like, they still use the skills they have, right? There's still this spy aspect to them, but they also get a
Mhm.
little bit of respite, right? Like, you know that
Yeah.
they're not fighting in a war anymore. They're not, they get to just fucking,
Yeah.
bake cakes with Elaine at some point. Like that would be, and like, could you imagine if like they talk to themselves and be like, what would Manon think if they knew that if she knew we were just fucking baking cakes with Elaine? That like this
I
is
know.
their sort of their prize for saving a world that they get to
And
live
it
on
makes me
in another.
wonder, like, does Reese pay them? Do they go on vacation?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
Don't
are they
know.
bound to him? Like,
Right? Yeah.
'cause they kinda seem
Were they saved somehow, right? Like, are they like the
yeah.
women in the library? Like, is there like, what is their story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. They're clearly trained to. I think they don't even know who the Avatar is with. I just get the impression that Rhys said, if you're ever around and you can overhear some shit. And so they
Yeah.
were like, it seems like kind of regularly scheduled duties, and they just happen to have Feyre with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that I wrote, like, "Also spying?" question mark on this page, and then literally it's like Feyre has the same thought on the next page where she was like, "Oh, and apparently also spies. Like, their job duties
mhm.
are cleaning me up and painting me and spies." So, I was
Yeah,
at
maybe
least on the
they were
same.
also honestly mostly spies, and then,
Yeah.
like maybe even in Valaris, they're still like meant to be spies. They're just are like pretending to be,
Yeah,
or just
and
additionally are
well, and then it's like, well,
bakers or
they're
something.
clearly not living in Valaris for this time, right? So do they go back and forth between the
Yeah, were
Night
they just
Court?
with Reese when he got locked away, or did he summon
Yeah,
them when he lost his powers? Or
yeah.
yeah, or maybe
And
he
so
met
then
them under here, and then they went back to Valaris with him, and they
that
weren't there before.
yeah, that could be it too. Yeah, there's
Oh
all like, there's a whole
god.
like, there's so many questions about these 2 that could be really fun.
Yeah.
And then, like, maybe that's how he's keeping an eye on his court, is that these two just hang out in the shadows in the fucking Court of Nightmares and just hang out in fucking what's his fuck's room looking at that stupid ass mirror and keeping tabs on Moore's daddy.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote also spying when it says, it was only when I could understand their words that I realized we weren't merely hiding. So also, I'm wondering if
Wait,
these
what?
so the next line, the Attor and his companion rounded the bend, still talking, their voices low. It was only when I could understand their words that I realized we weren't merely hiding, that they're eavesdropping, that they're spying, right?
Mm,
Um, and I'm wondering if, because she hears like guttural voices being grunted, right? She can hear the mumblings. I'm wondering if there's something to this conversation that those 2 heard more than what Feyre heard, because Feyre has human ears,
yeah, or I was
right?
when you said that, I was like, maybe they, like, made it so that she could understand or hear, like, they translated. I
I
don't know
think it
how
was
that
just that
works,
they got
but
close enough that she can finally hear.
yeah.
But, like, they clearly heard them. Like, she heard them too. Like, she heard
Mhm.
movement and voices and they hid,
I
but,
they
like,
definitely heard more too, I'm sure.
yeah. I had so many questions. She'll be most pleased to hear that they're ready at last. And I was like, "What is ready?"
Where I'm sorry, I flipped.
It's
Maybe I
it's
shouldn't.
yeah, it's the last line of 371.
Ah, okay.
She will be most pleased to hear that they are ready. So I'm like,
They
and I wrote what is ready, but I guess who is ready? Guess it could be troops?
yeah, I
Could it
don't know.
be Highburn that they are ready?
It doesn't seem like
Right? So I'm just like, that's interesting. What is
hmm,
she planning? Right? Um, Also, this guttural voice keeps snorting like a pig, and I'm like really interested to figure out like where else we hear that noise or hear something like that, because I'm like, this is bringing up no other connections for me.
yeah.
Um, and I wrote like, who is this person that they're talking to, and how do they have contact with Hybern soldiers? Right? Because he says, I heard talk from the soldiers in Hybern that the High King is not pleased regarding the situation with the girl. So not only does he have contact with the soldiers in Hybern, but Hybern knows about Feyre.
Mhm.
That Amarantha has made a fool's bargain. She cost him the war the last time because of her madness with Jurian. If she turns her back on him again, he will not be so willing to forgive her. And you're like, so he forgave her the first time. That's why he didn't come after her.
Yep.
Stealing his spells. I'm like, is that one of the books that we?
Yeah.
And not
And
only that, but where do we get that first book? Because the second one we have to get from well, we get them from the queens. We get one book from the queens, and we get one book from Summer Court.
here's what I don't get.
So then, what
Is
other
there other
spells? Go ahead.
how is a spell an object? Like, how can you steal a spell? Like, it makes it seem like it's like, oh, I plucked it out of your spell book. Like, does it just mean she can do the spell? Is it like, is this like in another folklore where a spell is like more like an object as opposed to like an incantation or something? Is that like a thing? I've never heard a spell talked about this way,
So
but I'm underread.
from sorry, we're talking about magic and spells, and I go into history.
That's fair.
um, yeah. So there are millions of
Hmm.
artifacts of spells that
Okay.
are written down, and there's grimoires, right, which is a spell book. There are and like there's a market for spells, particularly in the ancient world, right? That's what my thesis was on.
So is that
uh,
like the ability to like once you learn it you can cast it forever, or is it like you got to buy it and then you one use for this spell? Is it like that?
that's a good question. I don't know. I would assume that once you bought the spell you could use it and learn it and continue to cast it,
Okay.
but
And people
that
did
is
sell them as like
yes, yeah, so you could
okay.
buy a spell the same way you would buy a prescription, right? And, like, that's where, like, the kind of weirdness of the history of magic, because magic is kind of an amalgamation of science and religion is usually
Yeah.
what it is. It's not straight science, right? It's not like make a tea out of chamomile to get rid of a sore throat, right? That's strictly sort of medicinal, and
Mhm.
it's not prayer, right? And it doesn't follow the structure of proper prayer where you're asking for something. Spells do often are something where you're invoking power, so you're demanding something. You're saying like, I demand God to do this, or I demand this demon or this angel or this being to do something for me, this spirit to do something for me. So it's not a plea, which would be a prayer, it's an invocation. And then you also have, if it's a medicinal spell, you would have the medicinal aspect to it as well. So it would be something like, you know, crush this herb up and, steep it for this long, but drink it underneath a full moon and say this incantation afterwards. And so it's this whole like amalgamation of those things. And within the
Mm.
incantation, you could be calling upon deities. And so it looks a little religious, it looks a little medicine. And then there's spells that don't deal with medicine at all, right? There's like love spells for attraction, there's binding spells, there's like millions of spells that are found in like on the horse tracks in Rome that were just for people to like they want to bind the horse's legs together of some opponent's chariot so that he loses and the other one wins, and then you get all, you can get your bet, you win your money or whatever. There's spells that are rolled up into headstones of people who died before their time. So children headstones have a lot of like these spells that have been found in them on parchment that has survived in arid areas, that are calling upon that spirit to do something for them because they believed that a spirit that a person who died tragically or before their time still kind of lived in not a limbo space, but that could be kind of called upon because they weren't
Mhm.
completely at rest. So yeah, there's a physicality to spells,
Mm.
at least from the historical. I know I went on a long tangent. I'm sorry,
N
listeners.
No,
But
no.
there is a physicality and a market for spells historically.
Yeah.
And I think that you can steal spells, right? And like, I mean, Harry Potter, I mean, he steals Snape's spells, right? Or
Yeah, but, like, it's
he
not like Snape couldn't use it after that. That's what the part is like, is it did she take it away from Hybern and now he can't use it? Or is
well,
it
it's
just like she stole knowledge and he didn't want anyone else to know that? Is that
Yeah, and it could be either, right? It could be something that like he's taught her something and then she took it and used it in a different way, right? That we can look at things like there's like a secrecy behind certain martial arts, right? That you're not supposed to sort of take it out
Mm,
of the region in which it is. And again, I'm speaking with little knowledge of this, so like sorry listeners
yeah,
if I'm getting this wrong, but like there's like those sort of secret teachings, or and a
okay,
lot of groups have secret teachings that if you
yeah,
expand that or use those outside of this sort of the parameters of what it's supposed to be used for, then that's a violation of that.
okay, so
But
maybe
it
it's more
also
like that.
could just be that like maybe there's a lot of spells and that Hybern isn't one to memorize and become an expert in them because he has the physical spell book or the physical spells, and so he doesn't need to memorize them. It's because he has the reference there, and so by her
Mhm,
taking them and then using them for her own gain, it does steal it from him because now he's like, I didn't memorize the whole fucking spell book.
true.
But it still is
Okay.
questionable because then you're like, what spells? Because then I'm thinking, oh, well, it's those two books that have like that deal with the cauldron. But clearly he got the cauldron up and running without the books because the queens had one and Summer Court had the other.
Yeah, he didn't need the books.
He
I think
didn't
the
need
books
the
were like another route to doing something.
well, and I think it was supposed to like turn the cauldron off, right? It was supposed to like deactivate the cauldron.
Yeah, that's why they didn't wanna put it together or
Yeah,
something.
which is
Yeah, so maybe
immediately
it's just
what
a
she
different
does. But
spell book, or maybe I don't
But
know,
that
but
also opens up the fact that there is some amount of knowledge somewhere that maybe didn't just live in Amarantha and Hybern's heads that could come into play later.
yeah, it is interesting because yeah, I
And then it's
wonder
like, so, and so then, I mean, I'm assuming that the spell that they're referring to is the one that bound the power,
yeah, I think so.
that stole their power.
And I gotta imagine there's I don't know, seems interesting, seems important. Like we might come back to that at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
And then my question for this conversation too, right? Like, um, but will the High Lords? So I'm moving up a little bit. Will the High Lords
yeah.
contribute their forces? The response is the High Lords will do as she tells them. Then he says, "I hear Hybern is unhappy. If failure to aid in his cause a second time is another." So Hybern's still on his shit, right? Hybern's
Yeah,
still trying
he's
to.
doing break the wall right
And
now.
so then I'm like, so is Amarantha already like working with him? Is she
I
already
think so.
allied with him? And if she is, then that could have been one of those pump the brake moments where if Lucian was in talks with Hybern, he could have been like, he could have used that, right? Hey, I know you want to do this thing. We will help you take down the wall if you will actually turn on her for us. And so Hybern gets to weigh gets to weigh which one he wants. Does he use Amarantha, who does have all of the power right now, but she did betray him before? Or does
Hmm.
he use his forces against her, free the High Lords himself, and then take the wall, right? And then take the people and kind of do. And so, like, I don't know. It's interesting that he's kind of already in play, but we just don't know what extent he's in play.
Yeah, yeah, and it is a setting up the next book as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's partially it's just that like logistically it's that.
I had another note. Oh, I said, like, is Hybern playing both sides, right? Because I can see Hybern doing that shit, right? Lucian comes to him
Yeah.
pleading, and then he starts his, like, marionetting of the two sides or whatever. Um, then I also, so the note or the quote says, Milady makes no bargains that are not advantageous to her. She lets them claw at hope, but once it is shattered, they are her beautiful broken minions. And I said, this just speaks to her hubris again. Yes, it has worked, but I think that, like, right, because we're always like, well, why does she keep doing these generous things? Why does she keep making this? And, like, this is part of it, right? That's like, part of breaking them is giving them hope, giving them enough hope to think that they can win. And then when they don't win, it's that much more
Hmm.
cruel and she shatters them. But I think it also speaks to her hubris of being like, yeah, I'll give you hope because you can't defeat me. And in the end is, part of her greatest flaw
Defeat.
is her hubris.
Hmm.
Um so this last sort of full paragraph on 330, or sorry, 372. The other creature snorted that pig nose, and I'm assuming that he's Hibernian or he's from Hibern because what he says next, but
No,
I did
I
have it
would. Okay.
but I did have a question if he was from Hibern or if he was from Prithian. I
The
guess he could be
earlier
from
part made me think he was from somewhere neither of those, like the
Could be.
continent.
Yeah. He says, I'm here on a condition of immunity from the king. So I'm like, okay, well, that speaks that he might be Hibern, that Hibern sent
Hmm.
him there with the knowledge that he would not be held. Um,
Hmm.
but anyways, right? I'm here on condition of immunity from the king. If your lady, not queen, right, making it a point to italicize that he's already like talking down to her status against Hybern. If
Hmm.
your lady thinks she's above the king because she rules this wretched land, she'll soon remember who can strip her powers away without spells and potions. And I'm like, Hybern can strip her power? Why hasn't he? And
Hmm.
that is the biggest tell that Lucian would have a reason to go to Hybern.
Yeah.
That Lucian could go and say, you can strip her of her powers, give us our powers back, and we will take all of Prithian for your cause.
Hmm. Uh, it is weird to just think Hybern could have just been like, no more,
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah.
Um, I thought it was interesting how she does not see this as hopeful.
Yeah.
If I'm Feyre, and maybe I am a deranged optimist. So if I'm Feyre and I'm hearing shit like this, I'm thinking they're cracking. There's cracks. There's fissures. There's tension.
Yeah.
People aren't all okay with her. Somebody can yank her powers. How
Yeah.
can I yank them? Like like I just to me, I would be like very hopeful at hearing a conversation like this. I mean, I guess she's afraid for like Nesta, sorry, her family.
Mhm.
And but I just thought it was interesting that that's her first thought was like, oh shit, I have to get them away, but
Yeah.
also not like, wow, there's a hope. Which I guess, to be fair, it's like she's been just fucking having a terrible time and just kicked around for like
But
what,
it could be
two,
because
three
of
months.
it could
So
be because of her mortality though, right? That
mhm,
Hybern isn't a hope for her because Hybern wants to annihilate humans.
yeah,
And so at least with Amarantha, yeah, it's a possibility, but it's not as much of a possibility as like we're sure that Hybern wants to take that land back. And so maybe that's
yeah,
why it's not, she's like that's not worth it. That like I feel like Feyre would be like that's not a risk I'd be willing to take that he could help us because of what he would do with that power.
yeah,
Whereas Lucian,
like more scary. Yeah,
yeah, Lucian is absolutely Tamlin, absolutely going to take that risk.
mhm,
Possibly. Yeah. Um
yeah.
I did note when she says like who was that and they answered trouble. I'm like, so do they know who this is or is it just like, like what do they what are I
I
want to
think
know
they know
their
who it is.
yeah. And then does Rhysand know? He will soon. And then you're like, yeah, cuz they're spies.
I also thought it was interesting that like that's her first question. She like trusts Reese. She wants him to know this
Yeah.
information, and she just I don't get any sense that she thinks that he'll tell Amarantha. She like
Yeah.
already gets him,
Yeah.
um, and looks to him as an answer.
Yeah.
Uh, so
That she didn't say we need to tell Tamlin. She said does Rhys
yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah.
Does she also only ever call him Rhysand in this book?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, I the last line on this page. Sometimes, if I stared at the ceiling long enough, it became the vast expanse of the starry night.
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, sure did. Hmm.
It sure does. And I was like, maybe Reese is literally sending her Starry Night Skies and she's not
Hmm.
imagining it. She thinks she's dreaming, or like envisioning, but like maybe Reese is just sending those to
Yeah.
her. Yeah, so the starting point for this music scene, I was watching the light dance along the damp stones of the ceiling of my cell, like moonlight on water, when a noise traveled to me down through the stones, rippling across the floor. And then yes, yeah, she's noting that. Thinking that she's like making it up, hallucinating.
Hmm.
But yeah, I kind of think Reese is sending her Starry Night Skies. Or I also thought maybe it's like because she is sort of like fated to one day like live in Valaris. I don't know. Part of me was just thinking about that.
I love that she says when she's talking about the music, I could see it. Like she can see that, like she can see what the music is conjuring an image for her.
Yeah. It makes me think this music is like a certain kind of music that's like something else.
The way that she describes the music here is oftentimes the way that Aelin describes music.
Hmm.
That it tells a story and it gives you this full feeling and you can almost see the pain and the sorrow and the triumph and love in the music.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that the batter
Mhm.
the music folded over itself like batter being poured from a bowl. Just reminded me of that cauldron painting.
Mhm. It also reminded me of the I've never seen it, but I think it's Schitt's Creek where they're like folding the
You
eggs.
folded in cheese.
Yeah, and he's like
You've
what
never
what
seen
is it?
Schitt's Creek?
No. But I've seen that clip where it's like, "What do you mean fold? What do you mean?"
What do you mean fold in the cheese? Dude, that is a good one. Like you could watch it with your husband. Watch like it's 20-minute episodes, so you just watch like one a day or something, and then it is
Nice.
just so cute and fun, and it will I sobbed at points.
Okay, good.
But
I then
mostly it's funny. It's
then maybe I'll
just
watch
like
it.
it's
Yeah.
weird. And the first couple episodes, you're like, I'm not watching this. This is stupid. It's like
Okay.
too. You kind of have to get used to it, but once you do, it's like the most comfort show. Like, oh my
Okay.
god, it's so good.
Good to know.
Okay, sorry. It wasn't wild music, but there was a violence of passion in it.
Mhm.
I don't know I just kind of noted that line.
So did I.
Feels
I basically
very
said like this is more than just music. It like he's sending like a whole vision with it, a whole like it's it's home. It's his
Mhm.
home and it will be her home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um The pulse of the music was like hands that gently pushed me onward, pulling me higher, guiding me through the clouds. And then it says, I'd never seen clouds like these. In their puffy sides, I could discern faces fair and sorrowful. They faded before I could view them too clearly and looked into the distance to where the music summoned me. And so I'm like, who are these faces that I mean,
I didn't remember this at all. Like, when I reread this, I was like, "What the fuck?" You know what it feels like to me? Like we're looking into the afterlife or something, or that place where people are that they can't talk about.
it could be. I thought of more of it like this is Rhys sharing music of his home. And when he thinks of home, he thinks of his inner circle. And the
And we're
clouds are
seeing those are the faces?
and the faces are of Moore and Cassian and Az
Mm.
and oh my god, why am I not thinking of the last person?
Asriel?
No,
Cassian?
nope,
Amron?
that one. Um,
I didn't know
like
who you named already.
yeah, like how beautiful would that be if that were like the faces that she was seeing were like the people that he loves the most.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a interesting. I was thinking more along the lines of, yeah, um
The like misty,
like
yeah,
we're in
because
an actual place because I don't know. It's also like okay, because I think some people think this is like the House of Winds, like I up and up into fields of cornflowers, past a canopy of trees, and into the open expanse of sky. Um, and where is the palace?
yeah, the palace is at the top of the mountain.
Sorry, where's the word palace? Because it does say it's a
Oh, I
palace,
didn't.
right? Oh yeah, it's on the next page actually, sorry. Okay, but yeah, I was just like the fields of cornflowers past a canopy of trees and I don't know, I just felt like maybe it is just a metaphorical like he's just envisioning Valaris, but to me it just seemed kind of weirdly specific.
Mm-hmm.
Um and much more like a place. Yeah, it was either a sunset or a sunrise. The sun filled the clouds with magenta and purple, and its orange gold rays blended with my path to form a band of shimmering metal. What
That's
did
the
you?
river. It's the river.
Okay. So she
The
is just looking at Valaris itself.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It wasn't music to dance to, it was music to worship, music to fill in the gaps of my soul, to bring me to a place where there was no pain. That's Valaris.
Mm-hmm. Very, very high moment, like really elevated diction and stuff.
I hadn't realized how badly I'd wanted to tumble into that deep dark.
I didn't want to tumble into that deep dark,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I didn't realize how badly I didn't want to tumble into that deep dark. How much I wanted to stay here among the clouds and color and light. Um, yeah, that's like that moment where it's like, oh, now we're coming to climb out of our
Mm-hmm.
dark
Also,
moment of
the thing
soul.
that's very telling is everything I wanted was there. The one I loved was there.
Yes,
And
yes,
granted,
that's
she
why.
thinks it's Tamlin, but no, babe. The one you love
Oh, she.
is there.
Oh, she does say Tamlin after that. It's so funny. Um, Okay, do you think this is the House of Wind? Because I tend to up and up, building to a palace in the sky, a hall of alabaster and moonstone, where all that was lovely and kind and fantastic dwelled in peace. Um, do you think it's the
Yeah,
really?
could be. A palace in the sky, a hall of alabaster and moonstone. Well, we'll have to wait till we get to Valar, until we get to the House of Wind and figure out if it has halls of alabaster and moonstone, because I don't remember.
Hmm. Actually, that kind of reminds me of the his house above the Court of Nightmares a little bit more.
Yeah, that's so the House of Wind is not the palace, right? The
That's
House
what
of
I'm
Wind, yeah, so the House of Wind
wondering.
is in Valaris, right? Because it has the 10,000 stairs to get to Valaris, right?
Yes.
So then the palace is in the is at the top of the mountain that is over the Court of Nightmares.
Okay. Moonstone Palace. Oh. Hmm. Yeah, I always was like, because people, I think a lot of times I've seen people talk about this scene and they're like, "Oh, it's the House of Wind," or and I just was like, it doesn't seem like it. It's kind of seems like a different place, maybe, but it kind of does actually remind me of the apparently it's called the Moonstone Palace above the Court of Nightmares, but it also kind of. I feel like because here's the thing, I think she would recognize either of those places if she had seen it in this vision, and then she gets taken to his. You know what I mean? Like she wouldn't
Yeah.
she recognizes when she sees when she hears the music in Valaris, she's like, "What the fuck?" But when she sees the House of Wind or the palace, she doesn't say anything.
I don't think she's seeing that. I don't think she's necessarily seeing the House of Wind. I think that she's seeing the ascent to the House of Wind.
Okay, so you think okay.
And then
Oh,
but I also think that she's seeing the palace. It's called the Moonstone Palace.
yeah, but that's in a totally different place.
Yeah,
So she's
but
seeing
it's
both at
still home.
once?
Yeah, but it's still home.
Mm. This is the one thing that always it makes well, because I also was getting vibes that, like, this feels like it's, like, in another place, like,
Mhm.
the music's from Valaris, but, like, maybe this is, like, another well, the Faces in the Sky was the thing that did it to me, but it would make sense for that to be Inner Court as well, but
Mhm.
I was just like, "Man, what is" but yeah, maybe it is just the Moonstone Palace or the House of Wind or both.
Well, and maybe it was
Mhm,
like maybe it's the pat, right? Maybe it's like he starts on the ground, right, with the corn the cornflower, right? Up and up over the trees, up and up in like to where like the House of Wind, the sort of elevation of the House of Wind, right?
mhm,
So where she's seeing and that's where she sees the faces, right? Because the people he loves the most should be there in Valaris in the House of Wind, right? And then she keeps going up and up and up to a new elevation and perhaps that's where the palace is in his mind, right? Because the
mhm.
palace is in the highest mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just something about that just, like,
Mhm.
throws me.
And then we get the yuckiness of Tamlin. But it's
Yeah.
interesting, right? So like everything I wanted was there, the one I loved was there. And then we get the music was Tamlin's fingers strumming my body. It was the gold in his eyes and the twist of his smile. It was the beautiful breathy chuckle and the way he said those words. And it was this I was fighting for. This I had sworn to save. And so I think though that that's speaking more to the image, the
Yeah.
music, the Valaris of it all. That
Yeah.
yes, it's making her like that's the one I love is there, and right now I think I love Tamlin, and she's like, this is what I've been fighting for, and she's not talking about Tamlin, she's talking about the music in this image.
Mhm. And that's fitting because that's, like, what she is it's much more important. Um,
And then she already kind of knows that it's Rhys because she says this is the second to last paragraph. The music flittered through my memories, binding them together, making them into a quilt that wrapped around me that warmed my bones. I looked at the eye in the center of my palm, but it only stared right back at me, unmoving. Why
mhm.
would you, if you're thinking about Tamlin, why are you looking at that eye? That
Yeah, if anything,
that
she would
when the
be like,
music is
Give it
most
away."
comforting, you look to the eye.
Yeah. And, in terms of, it's interesting that at this moment, maybe the tattoo is just unmoving, but maybe Reese is just, like, staring at her through it, and it's like,
Mhm.
that metaphorical looking,
Mhm.
the eye is staring right back at her unmoving. Um, but yeah, and then, just 2 more days, and then I would learn what the eddies of the cauldron had planned for me.
Immortality, babe. That's what they got planned for you. Fatum. Fayhood?
Feyhood, probably.
Fayhood.
Yeah. Man, very, you know, interesting. So much happens in this chapter.
Also, the room that she sneaks into with Tamlin in the next chapter is quote half hidden by a tapestry.
Oh.
Hmm. All these
So
tapestries and these doors, man.
Are you still reading the glass right now?
Yeah. I kind of paused for a little bit. So I am
Okay, okay.
in whatever the next one.
Okay.
Queen of something. Shadows,
Queen of
Queen of
Shadows.
Shadows? Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm in.
Yeah, that one's good. But okay, and then next week we've got our kiss with Tamlin, and followed immediately by our kiss with Rhys, and a juicy conversation.
A juicy conversation,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then and then I think we're 2 episodes from the end, right?
I think so, yeah.
'Cause we're gonna combine 40. No, then we have 43, and then we're gonna combine 44 and 45, and then we do 46, and then we go to Mist and Fury.
Yes, we do.
So
I'm
crazy!
so
I
excited for
do,
Mr. Fury.
dude. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well,
So
to the stars who listen, we'll see you next week.